Well, yes.
I've been here last year already, and what did I say last year? I had a story about power, and the story was power and definition of power is changing, and by means of digital transformation, this is an instrument to change power and makes power more democratic. So why do I think so? Well, digital transformation nowadays is the new normal. So in every day's life, in every woman's life, in our life, we now see digital transformation every day. That also means for a manager, digital transformation, you see it every day. And when you find out that you don't get followers in the internet or intranet just because you are the chief financial officer of Lufthansa, but only because you have something to say and to add value to a discussion, that also means, obviously, that something is changing. And another thing which is changing in daily life as a manager by digital transformation, you never got so clear feedback. So who is daring to give you a feedback eye to eye saying, oh, come on, you may be the chief financial officer, but I don't like that idea, or I think you didn't understand the topic. You get that in the intranet, in the internet. So again, power and hierarchy are not necessarily working together anymore. And that is, I think, a very, very important part of the digital transformation in organizations. Another thing very important is what's happening to the companies. Customers have access to your data, to the data of the competitors, and to the experience of your customers. So the brand may not be as important anymore, because if you read in the internet a lot of, oh, people were not happy with your product, people may change their mind and fly with somebody else. Very, very important, again, for the company to get that feedback. Competitors can also see your data, but you have transparency to theirs. So we have to see that for companies, again, we need to change. Also, our employees are asking for different things, as they are used to more democratic structures, and they are used to employers who may look a little bit more into work-life balance and to just involve new workspace into their areas. And the last part for companies is processes have to become more disruptive, because the volatility, but also the fast changes have influence into our processes. So continuous improvement sometimes is not sufficient anymore. You need disruptive improvement. To give you the example of Lufthansa, what does it mean? Travel is not just flying from A to B. For all of you, travel is already preparing. Where do I want to go? Why? It is maybe the adventure behind it, or the excitement. So an airline has to be careful that you're not just flying from A to B and somebody else is adding the excitement. We have to come to the customer early to add excitement to our product. And it also means we have to add excitement to our employees, make them part of it, and add their ideas and their innovation. This is not the normal structure, obviously, in a big German company. And again, we have to look into all our processes and find out where we can change them. How can we win that battle? Well, with the customers, I already mentioned it. We have to access the customer quite early. Our passengers, we need to have the so-called touch point. And that may be by experience of you as a passenger, as a customer before, or partnering with other partners to find out, do they know about your ideas about traveling? So the touch point to the customer is very, very important, and that is a major issue we have to take care of. We have to involve our employees to become innovative, to have more crowdsourcing in the company than we had before, to be exciting so that they can add excitement to our customers. And the third part is obviously to become faster and do sort of rapid prototyping. And to those of you who listened to Mrs. Felser, who is a pilot in Lufthansa, it's obviously clear that we in general have a clear risk avoidance culture. So how do you combine risk avoidance, which is a must for an airline, with rapid prototyping, continuous improvement in disruptive processes, try and error? And I give you an example, and I think most of you may have seen that. We were quite rapid regarding our plane flying home the German world champion, because we didn't know what the end of the game will be. And we had to decide, what do we do? What do we put on that plane? So Sieger, Flieger, or thank you, boys. And we did that overnight, and we were prepared for that. Yeah? So these kind of ideas, fast reaction is absolutely important to a company nowadays, also to an airline nowadays, by keeping the safety as a very important part of it. So my last sentence before we start the discussion, I think digital transformation is really fun because it leaves a lot more opportunities than we had in the past. It gives you a lot more possibilities to move. It's also fun for a company when you can embrace it. And I think what is very important for all of you, I think it's helping us that success is becoming independent from gender, from age, from hierarchy, and also from brand. So thank you, that was the fourth keynote, and now we start with the discussion.
So thank you very much for the opening words. You just spoke about the necessity to address customers, to address employees. You have to be fast and agile. No offense intended, that is not something that is attributed with a big company like Lufthansa with 120,000 employees. How are you going about that cultural change?
Well, partly I think we are already in it. And most of you, when you talk about Lufthansa, don't forget that we also introduced a new modern brand with German wings. So that was quite risky. Lots of customers told us, well, come on, stay with your established product. We said we need a modern product to react faster. So that's a hybrid product. And another thing we want to try out is we have obviously several airlines. The smaller airlines can easily try out things. So why not, like what other software companies are doing, try out some product element with Austrian, which may not be valid yet for Lufthansa. Lufthansa may try out a different one. So we do parallel innovation, parallel development, and continue to improve the best one of it.
But how do you break through the hierarchies? How do you make sure that the young and wild that have good ideas, revolutionary ideas, are heard by the top management?
Yeah, that is really a challenge, and we do it in several ways, and we are not yet there where we wanted to be. So we just are thinking about our hierarchy and how to disrupt the hierarchy. We will introduce a different innovation process internally, which goes beyond the hierarchy, so you don't have go through the ranks, because I think it's known that 2 ranks of hierarchy are killing ideas from bottom up to the top, but they are also killing things from the top to the bottom. So where are the shortcuts? So we need a process, and we are just implementing that to have a shortcut. And on the other hand, I also have young people being consultant for me. So I have social buddies. So some social buddies just helping me to understand how young people are thinking, how innovation should be. And I do also do some direct communication in the intranet.
So maybe, I'm sure lots of people would be interested to hear, how is that innovation process going to be established? Will you have working groups with younger people and more established people?
I think we will have everything. One thing is we will have, so it's called gamification, so it can be a game, yeah? So you have a new idea as an employee, and instead of the old process, you're writing something down, and then you get somebody in the hierarchy who is a consultant and says, is that a good or bad idea? We now put it into the net, and then you get likes. And the more likes you get, you can get money, you get support. So you have a project in mind and you need somebody who makes up a business plan, so you get a consultant from the controlling. So that is one part how we do it. So that is more the crowdsourcing part. When we talk about building up a new platform, like we are planning that today, that would mean external, internal experience and challenges in a working group to build up something new. And what we also want to implement is an innovation hub, which is outside of a headquarter, where we will get external people, access to young innovators, and also people from Lufthansa to work together outside of the headquarter to get a different spirit.
So we can assume that the idea that all wages should be raised will get the most likes on your intranet.
Well, the wages, interesting enough, is not so important. The ideas and get that through is the most important part, yeah.
Could you talk about this innovation hub? For those that don't know, the chief executive of Lufthansa has just announced that they want to spend $500 million on innovations. What are you looking at? What are your ideas?
Well, it's not, and that as a chief financial officer, I have to say that it's not additional 500 million we are just spending. It is just that we never before put innovation in the focus, and it's now in the focus of the CEO. So our CEO has a direct line to innovation, and we collect all the innovative projects into one budget. Lots of innovation we do is technical innovation. So in Lufthansa Technik, we do fuel efficiency parts, so engine wash or things like that, shark skin for an aircraft to spend less fuel. But it may also mean that we do venture capital in startups.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us, you have a lot of new competitors coming up. Say, for example, Google, I'm sure everyone is aware, has now a flight search engine. Do you consider firms like that to be your competitors? Are they partners? Where do you see that?
Yeah, that is absolutely a good point. So I think airlines have to be careful that they don't become this commodity part. So, and this is obviously a danger, and I think most of you looking for a flight, especially within Europe, you're just looking into the internet saying, okay, I want to go from Munich to whatever, Barcelona, and then you find out what is the cheapest flight and who is flying at a good time. And then you are a commodity. So Google would provide something like the experience. Mm-hmm. So you have the whole journey, and as I just mentioned, you may discuss, today I want just to fly back and forth without luggage. Tomorrow I want to have the exclusive journey with a limousine from home, with a lounge access, with a fast track, with a good meal on board. So I think Google is a competitor. To that extent that we are talking about the experience of a journey, and therefore we either have to provide similar products, or, and let's be realistic, we will not overcome Google in that area, or we shall look for partners in special areas of the traveling experience to do that together.
So with all the information, all the data that we provide, you know how often I fly, where I fly to, what I like to eat. How do you filter out the relevant information to offer real substantial added value?
We have to improve there, I think. At the moment, we do not individualize the data like other companies are doing already, like Amazon or Google is doing. So in future, it is thinkable, and other companies are doing that, to say, okay, you are only going to North America, you only get offers for North America. So that is part of this digitalization we just announced, which we want to introduce.
Again, we have to pay attention about how transparent does a customer want to be, and how transparent does he not want to be. So that should be the choice of the customer to say, no, please leave me alone, or yes, please, that is a help for me, that you know my individual ideas and therefore can make a better offer to me. But this is an area where we work on at the moment to improve that.
And who do you get in to help? Do you recruit externally? Do you? Why should, say, a software engineer come to work at Lufthansa when he could go work at Apple, for example?
Well, it's just lots of people just love Lufthansa as a brand, so they come. But no, you're right. You have to give exciting tasks. And if you can convince young people that there is an exciting task with an exciting product, then obviously you can gain that workforce. But we also, as I mentioned, want to mix. So we want to mix experienced people who know a lot about airline and the travel industry working with us already, with new innovators saying, okay, what is a new idea? What is totally different? So this disruptive part, normally you only get when you also get some external challenges.
Mm-hmm. We've now spoken a lot about the customer. For those that are not so familiar with the aviation industry, there's a lot of challenges. Low-cost carriers, our competitors, Gulf carriers on the other hand. You're in one of the biggest transformations in the 60-year-old history of the company. How do you get your employees on board? Is that something where you see the need for digital transformation as well?
Well, what we do a lot more than, let's say, 3 years ago is communication. So after every press conference where I announce the results, we have a webcast where people can ask questions on an iPad and ask me directly live about their questions. We have this more crowd part where we want to involve employees, and that's not so easy because to keep in mind a lot of our employees are traveling constantly. So to reach the crews, it's a virtual community. So we are thinking about something like a Facebook, which is combining the good parts of Facebook, which our crews are using, together with parts of the company needs. So I think that is a very important part to have the whole community, the whole employees involved in this change process. And it's not an easy task because we are talking about an old legacy carrier here and changing into new disruptive transformation.
What is your vision of either the travel industry or your company in the years to come? You've already said the travel has changed. It starts with us seeing pictures on Facebook that we would like to go to that location. What kind of vision are you developing on the board at the moment?
I think traveling will become a lot more individualized, so that every one of you is really figuring out what do I need for this travel and not what do I need in general in traveling. So as I just said, there is the choice of today I just want to go like I did from Frankfurt to Munich, no luggage, it's an easy back and forth, no fuss. Maybe I just want to add something like a fast lane to be fast enough at the airport. When you want to travel one time a year with your partner and you want to make it a special occasion, then you are looking into something different and you pick the parts. So what we call is we are unbundling the journey, unbundling the traveling, and it's possible to buy the different parts and pieces of the journey just as you need it, individualized. I think it will be a lot faster, so the forward bookings will reduce, so you will not plan half a year ahead. And the combination, and that is the predictive marketing. So our task should be to find out what you do not yet already know, what you want to do. So like nobody knew that they won't need an iPad. Now everybody needs one. So we have to make predictive marketing so that we know what do you want next month and we can offer it to you tailor-made. So, and therefore we need social media. We need information about our passengers. And we also have to have the courage to risk to try things, and if they do not work, we do it differently.
You mentioned it before, your colleague just spoke about the fact that you have a no mistake policy in some, obviously for security reasons. How are you combining that? How are you telling people that it's okay to try and fail?
Yeah, that is really a challenge for our culture, because this very, very important part, the safety culture for an airline, is at the moment in nearly every part of our company. That partly means that we overanalyze. And we just have to make a labor atmosphere. So that put people in a different environment and just make it, okay, you have an experimental area here. And then even where, obviously it's very important to say thank you for that mistake. Again, very, very, very difficult in a German and airline culture. And it's a little bit like Six Sigma. In some areas you have to say it's 100% safe, and there are other areas which you have to define where you can say, okay, this is the trial area, so you can and you should maybe even fail, because we learn out of failure. So we have to define what processes are in what category, and we have to make very sure that we stick with the 100% safety processes in our airline environment, in the flying environment.
We will be opening up the panel to some question and answers if there's something you would like to ask Ms. Menne. Maybe as a wrap-up, could you say, where do you see either the travel industry or the Lufthansa, how specific you would like to be at the digital transformation at the moment? How much work is there still to need to be done? Can you be the front runners? Do you have to accept that as a big corporation you will always have to follow trends?
Well, we are not front runners. The low-cost carriers are far more ahead, and they were startups. They are collecting very much of the data of their passengers online, and we are a network of several carriers, and we also do network carrying, like transferring passengers. So we will be a follower. On the other hand, we can do things others cannot do, as we have different platforms. So we can provide a Germanwings hybrid product, and we can provide a full luxury first-class intercon product. And in this regard, by combining that via digital, we would be an advantage, and there we can become front runner. But we are not yet there, and our initiative, especially regarding innovation and digitalization, just started. So I would say we still have a way to go, but we have to be fast.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Now we're opening up to some questions. Okay, start at the front here.
Hi, I'm Laura Dornheim. I'm working with DLDG, and I have the pleasure of working with some of you people. And one question that really interests me is, what made you kind of like the front woman of Lufthansa's digitalization? Because obviously finance and internet do not necessarily have to be in one department. So why did you choose that topic, and how can you really set your mark in the corporation?
I wish I could answer that. I like it. I think, and actually sustainability as well as digitalization is not so far away from finance. You always have to work with big data already in finance. So using big data and make the best out of it is one part of the coin. The other part is the cultural part, and my style of work is very much collaborative. So I always try to involve people, and as I've been with the company for quite a long time, I have a huge network, and I've been abroad. I want to be connected to all the people I knew in my career, and therefore I use new media to stay connected, and then you get all this impact. I get already now content from New York by people telling me, oh, I have this idea, Simone, and therefore I embrace this networking and the new media, and I think that may be the reason.
Some further questions? No, I think we've probably answered all the open questions. Thank you very much, Simone Menne, for some insight into the digital transformation at Lufthansa. Thank you.